It may not always seem like it, but a core focus that I have for this YouTube channel is to help people improve at the video game. We used to do a lot of what we're going to do here today. It was kind of the main thing we did when it came to reviews. We've kind of descended into this humor-based approach, but even those videos, the goal is always to laugh and also learn. This video, we're just going to be learning, and I am calling for some aid from the community. This is a person who has been a longtime viewer of this channel, and I'm not exactly understanding the backstory here, but I'm going to try to read you all the communication they have sent me as they are seemingly desperate in need of some advice or something or other to help them get past a bit of a wall they are seeing at 10s in the Pug world, and then hopefully getting ready for season 2, which is fast approaching. So let's start by reading some of these comments and setting the stage for what you're going to see here today. The thing that kicks us off is a YouTube comment on the video where I was basically asking for more people to send in footage of them struggling so we can help them improve. Here's the comment. As a healer, I can't pug past 10s. I'm lucky if pugs can even do 10s. I have a video already heading to your email. Got some fresh healer footage to highlight a stumbling block I really can't get past. It contains footage of both gameplay I don't know how to improve on, as well as how my pug 10s tend to go. My goal is to get past the glass ceiling of 10s and get to a point where 12s feel like homework. I just don't see how I will get there. My response to that was actually like, you probably shouldn't even bother trying to do 12s right now. We probably only have like 4 weeks left of this season. I would rather see a player who's looking to improve get on the PTR and stuff like that, but I wasn't fully understanding what the actual problems were at the time. But yeah, still, I would say, like, if anybody feels like, man, I'm really struggling this season, I've been struggling, it's not going well, honestly, just forget about it. The season's almost over. Just go on the PTR and learn as much as you can so you can hit the ground running in the next season. But I did say that, you know, 12s are going to be a lot easier next season. There's not going to be that giant jump. There's not going to be that giant wall. But they said, well, I'm not even able to pug 10 successfully right now, so I can't even think about 12s next season. In this case, I can't even put out enough healing to heal the affix. I asked why. That doesn't seem right. They said, I'm not sure yet. All the WoW circles I'm in have asked me for logs, and I handed the logs over and I'm waiting to hear back. So they sent me the email. It says, in your video, you were asking for footage. This video appears to be a good case of both gameplay that I don't know how to improve, as well as even if I did improve by say 20%, I am not sure 10s are viable for pug healers. That's the direct quote. Obviously, I think there's some kind of misunderstanding or some misstatement, or I mean, obviously people pug well above 10 constantly as healers, but I believe they're talking about, like, as the healer that they are playing currently, they don't feel like they can ever successfully do 10s. So I asked for some clarification. I said, is this the footage that we see? Is this the first 10 or what? Like, I hadn't really fully looked into their character sheet yet. They said it's actually my final portal that I need. My main group disbanded for the season a couple months ago, and I've been unable to clear 10s without them. We're going to look at the Raider IO at the end, but it sounds like they've actually done a lot of keys. They just always did it in the confines of probably like a group that helped them kind of make up for their potential pitfalls, and now that they're in the pug world, it's being exposed. So here's the key. We have an Ara Kara 10 coming at you here. There's their character as well. I mean, obviously you can see this on Raider IO, but they are actually 630 item level. They're going to show their talents in a bit here as well. It doesn't seem like there's anything that really stands out to me about, like, oh, okay, well, we got a big issue here. I don't know a lot about Holy Pally gearing. Maybe somehow gearing matters a little bit more, like the actual stats. We always talk about this in these videos, but I do think having a good UI set up to you, like something that works very well for you, is the most important thing for maximizing your character and your gameplay while playing the game. Here's the talents to take a look at that too if you guys want to see. I don't know anything about it at this point. In case anybody doesn't know, I did main Holy Pally from TBC until Legion, mid-Legion, and then I altered it kind of really up until Dragonflight. But yeah, right out of the gate, I see the UI is like, I think this is like a very like stock UI, like you're just like downloading random stuff and putting it on the screen. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but I imagine a lot of this is not all being looked at. And that's the big issue I have, is that when people use somebody else's UI, they don't really tailor it to their best interests. And I think the most offensive part of what we see here in the UI is just how far the actual healing frames are from the rest of the stuff. If you're looking, like I'm personally here, I'm staring at the weak wards in the middle of the screen to see CDs, and like it's so far away from the actual healing, you can't look at both. They're too far away from each other, one way or the other. Like, you gotta change that. I think that's gotta happen. It's gonna dramatically improve your reaction time. I honestly would also look into the idea of having the healing frames on your dominant hand side. I did learn a lot about this. I'm not qualified to talk about it, but something in the brain makes it a little bit harder for you to react to something past the midline of your eyes. So if you're right hand dominant reacting to something on the left side of your periphery, you're going to be a slower reactor than if it's on the right side. This is incredibly important as a healer because these are life and death global sometimes. Again, you want to look into that on your own. If you like it on the left, I don't really care, but it's just something I noticed and talk a lot about over the years. And then looking at the frames themselves, like I feel, especially since they're so far away, it's really doing you a disservice how like lack of uniform. Don't they look like really dark, and like there's all different colors going on here. We have, I guess, the class colors. I don't know. They're just so nondescript. I'm really having a lot of trouble identifying what I'm actually looking at on this add-on. Is this Cell? I guess everybody's using Cell now after we talked about this with Harry. I haven't looked at the add-on myself, but it should be fully customizable. And I would just really recommend to just keep the colors the same, get all the text off there. Like we don't need you have both the health and then I guess like the percentage of health. I'm not really sure. There's like a lot of stuff on the bar. I would not recommend having all this stuff on there. And I think if you're actually not looking at it, it's even probably more confusing because it's just taking away from the clarity of how much healing is actually needed, right? Like just either have the health or the percentage. I think I would rather the percentage, just have that dead center, like make it very, very clear. So you know, like, oh, that guy's at 40% health. Like, okay, that's no ambiguity there whatsoever. And then just uniform the colors, whatever we're doing with the colors here. A lot of people like that if they're at full health, you have green. If you're low health, you're at red. I think that's probably the best way to play. I personally like the class colors because I think it looks a lot better. But one way or the other, they're almost like kind of dark. I don't know. I don't like the setup, but if you're 100% married to it, that's up to you. But I do think one way or the other, we got to move them closer. And definitely we don't need these health bars here. This is something people kind of like flame me over, but I just use the default, man. Get these off the screen. You're not going to look at these, like, especially literally, it's so close to the actual healing one. I don't like, what do we need that for? You do not need a target frame in World of Warcraft anymore with Plater. Plater shows you all the information. There's no casting or anything that the target bar shows you anymore. These are just totally taking up space. And if I were you, I would get rid of this one for you and just move this down in right next to it. So you can literally see your weak ores as well as your actual healing bars. And that'll dramatically improve your reaction time and your clarity. Your clarity is the biggest thing as a healer. Anyway, I want this video to also be about learning about what the mistakes actually are here, because I think a lot of people who are struggling in the lower key ranges are thinking that like every single mistake is their, like I see this with Cop all the time, and I've seen a lot of people say this, like, I'll never be able to do this, when in reality we have a bunch of stuff here that just has nothing to do with you as the healer. Now I don't know if the tanks are doing this a lot. I don't know if this is a normal way to do this dungeon, but this is just an awful strategy right now. Like this guy is, it seems like very non-committal to me. If you're gonna go all the way, then go all the way, but like stopping here and just kind of like backpedaling into more mobs. You see there's a bunch of mobs behind that don't have full threat established, like, and then I don't know, like we aggro the mini boss here somehow. I have no idea how this happens. I don't think anybody does this on purpose, but like hopefully nobody thinks that you as the healer are expected to deal with all this. This is not how this is supposed to go. And if anything, like you feel like you're unable to survive this or you're unable to deal with this properly, you just blame the tank for this. This is clearly an error of the strategy of the pull. One way or the other, how that pulls, I don't know. I don't even know what the penalty is for fighting it. Like we're not actually getting hit by the frontal here. As you see, they're actually at like max distance from the frontal. So I don't know anything about this, but yeah, this is not how this is supposed to go. So yeah, don't take any type of problems to heart on this situation here. If you're also struggling with this start of this dungeon, just encourage people to stop trying to over pull in this first area. This dungeon is like a super lenient timer. You can see me do this on a 14. We do not pull anything. We stop right here where our character is right now and still come close to double upgrading some of these keys. No reason for this. This is a terrible strategy and it's just going to cause deaths. I mean, I don't know how that mini boss gets aggro, but that obviously wouldn't have happened if we just did a more conservative pull. So we also are doing this thing. We saw this in the review we just did last weekend about pulling this attendant with this mini boss. And of course, we are going to see another fear go out. We're fighting two enemies that have a lot of casts. Like we need to kick that resonant barrage as well. There's a lot of things that need to be stopped. And as you see at the time of the cast, all interrupts are on cooldown. Watch it again. Here it comes. All interrupts are on cooldown currently. Now the tank does technically get his back before the cast is through all the way, meaning he technically could have kicked that. Very unlikely that anybody is going to make that association. Anyway, the point here is that we don't have an interrupt for it. And there's a reason for that. It's because we all used our interrupts too quickly into this pull, and the tank kind of set us up for failure here by pulling another caster, another mob that needs to be stopped regularly. So later in the footage, you would see that the healer does actually just kick the fear themselves, and that is the strategy I would always recommend. If there is a lot of AoE damage, a lot of things that are being cast one way or the other, and you as the healer know that if there's one cast out, it will wipe you, nothing else will wipe you, you'll just heal through that, then you save your kick for that. This is incredibly important because in the Pug world, you don't have that communication, you don't have that knowledge of who's going to kick what. So as the healer, even if you don't interrupt multiple like CD lengths of your interrupts, it would still be better for you to guarantee that you kick the most dangerous mechanic on the trash to guarantee the safety of the group in the best way possible. And in that case, like, it's just a clear, obvious, like, you cannot get feared there. So we're fighting this like relatively large pack. We missed one of the encourage crawlers. This is so stupid how this happens, but these mobs are not tethered together. And then as these mobs are dying, this tank is going to combine all of this, the rest of the room, into the mini boss. Now, I've done some small scale version of this over time, and I did not realize how starting this mini boss is such a crucial part of the healer's life there, because the second you start, it does that countdown for that big AoE hit there. And yeah, that's going to be a really big issue for the healer. That's ultimately what's going to have the biggest, like, they don't get past this mob. Okay, I'm just telling you this right now. This key disbands on this enemy, but I think being prepared for that is the most important thing in the whole. So this guy is absolutely screwing you over by doing this. Another thing that, again, like, you just look at this for what it is. The tank is pulling in way too aggressively, way too many enemies that have mechanics that are going to make this already difficult mechanic too difficult. We have multiple dispels needed. I never fully realized just how many times you would need a poison dispel at the beginning of this dungeon. So again, we fought all of these mobs. They do this circle and they explode when they die, and the tank just stands in the circle. It actually hits the other melee DPS as well. So these two guys die and that wipes you guys, and that is not your fault. There's 100% bad strategy again from the tank, taking all of these very dangerous enemies onto a very dangerous mini boss. They just do it again, basically. Like, the tank just pulls us and we immediately have the Call of Brood go out. And this is exactly what I was talking about when I brought this up before. Getting ready for this mechanic is absolutely paramount. And like I said, I did not realize how big of a deal this was, because I used to try to kind of combine the packs as they were dying into this mob, and people told me, like, this makes it a lot harder. But let's, like, really have a look at what this mistake actually is. Okay, so we have the Engorge Crawler. It is going to put the spit on you, so we're going to take a lot of damage from that. We're already almost at half health before the AoE starts, and then we end up dying to the AoE. Again, just assuming that you're going to do this every single time and the tank is never going to change it, we need to get that dispel off instantly. And again, you may not even be aware that there is a poison dispel on these enemies, but it is going to happen a lot with these types of spiders, and it's going to make this pack a lot harder. So outside of just saying, hey, please stop pulling trash on this mini boss, the best choice here is to just make sure that you are at full health when this goes out. I always prioritize that as a holy pally. Now, ironically, we have wowop.io, and it actually tells us some very interesting information here. It says you died to Call of the Brood. Calls for the caster's brood, inflicting a bunch of physical damage to all enemies every 0.5 seconds, which is pretty rapid. It says countermeasures. This deals heavy AoE damage. Have a defensive or healing ready. Tailors can interrupt this cast by looting the spider on the first platform for an item. So you can actually stun this with that. Nobody really ever does that, but you can do that. And so what is the biggest takeaway here, right? It says have a defensive ready. And this is exactly what I was just talking about. It's making sure you protect yourself from this death. As a paladin, you have an enormous amount of ways to do that. But I'm going to tell you right now, I did not even know that this was physical damage. So that means on top of all the other stuff, you also have Blessing of Protection that you could put on yourself or somebody else. Obviously, like Aura Mastery for Devo to reduce the damage everybody's taking, great idea. You can just, get big spot healing going through it. We need to dispel ourselves of the poison, but we commit the cardinal sin as a holy pally, a paladin in general. We die with bubble available. All right, this has been the cardinal sin since Classic, and it will be the cardinal sin for the rest of time. Bubble is the strongest defensive CD in the game. If you were preemptively aware of the danger of this mechanic, you could have bubbled the poison off as well to not even have to have dispelled that off yourself, and then everybody else would be alive because you're the only one who actually died there. And so I think that's a real big takeaway here, because healing is all about being prepared for the stuff that's about to come. And yeah, is it possible to heal through that? Yes, absolutely. Could you react to that in time? Sure, I'm sure that's technically possible. You're not going to get a lot of opportunities to do that. As you see, the group now disbands over that, which is a bit silly. A lot of times you're just not given the opportunity to learn. So as the pug healer in this case, you really have to take all the precautions necessary to make sure that you do not fall apart, that you are the most stable player in every group you're doing. Also, just for clarity's sake, I want to show the Raider.io page of the person who submitted this key. This is them, 2,500 player, but again, I guess pretty much every single one of the keys that they have upgraded are in a pre-made. Some of them aren't even healed, but we see a lot of double upgrades, okay? So we're going to do a little bit of a dive here on this as well. Dawnbreaker, just as easy as Ara Kara in terms of like success rate, but I think it's a harder key to heal, to be honest. So we did double upgrade at 10, but that was 12 weeks ago. I don't fully get this part. I don't know if it's like rust or what, but like, yeah, if you can double upgrade, and you certainly should be able to pug a 10 now at this point in the season. But just because I'm sure people are going to look into it and see see it themselves. I want to clear this up. You see what looks like a boost, right? Like a paid boost, you would assume. This was, again, 12 weeks ago. Somebody who was not even 2K score. I don't know what's going on with that, because then the same exact week, I guess this is maybe this is only showing their DPS score. I guess that might be what that's there. But the exact same week, we see their 2,500. You see a bunch of 3K players who are doing a key with somebody who's clearly not the same level as them. You think it's a boost, right? So I brought this up. Also, they have Jamie Fucking Lannister in the group. I brought it up. They said that these are all their friends and they're in the same guild. So you can actually confirm that. Outside of this guy, this is not in that guild. Guess that's a friend of the friends, basically. But yeah, everybody else in that group is in this Kintsugi guild. I don't know what that even means. Yeah, this is a boost, but it's like a friend boost. Like they're just friends, I guess. And then like here you see the run as the healer. Everybody's the same. So they have done it as an actual healer in a group that's all the same. And they also have done it as like a boosted player for whatever reason. And you're going to see a little bit of that in all the runs. Like same thing we have here. It's actually the same people. One day later, it's November 7th to November 8th. They do the same thing and upgrade it. And honestly, this is a good idea. Like, I don't know if this is you trying to build that confidence and you trying to say like, all right, well, now that I've seen it on the 10 as DPS, I'll be able to heal it better. This is not a bad idea at all. And if it helps you get that experience, yeah, I mean, not the end of the world. You know what I mean? It's not a bad option. So yeah, not a lot to look at, but I hope that you guys will be able to help this player. This is something I want to start making a priority of the channel again. I want to start making more content on this topic. So in the past, a lot of people would come, like especially when there's specs that I don't know a lot about, the comment section would be filled with helpful stuff, maybe talent changes, maybe gear changes, maybe UI changes, things that you guys see. Please leave a detailed comment. I want to help as much as I possibly can. So if you guys are also out there in the situation where you feel like you're failing and you have no idea why, or you're unsure how to improve, send it to me. We will do as much as we can to help and hopefully rally the community around helping too. So thank you for watching. I hope you guys are rallying around this cause and eager to help as much as I am. Season 2 is going to be probably pretty wild, especially at the start. So get out ahead of it. And yeah, honestly, I would just tap out on season 1 at this point. I get you want to get this portal. That's definitely doable. Once you get that portal, get on the PTR, start getting prepared for next season. So we're not running into the situations where like 15 weeks into the season, we still aren't like fully sure of how best to survive certain mechanics. So thank you for watching. We will see you guys in the next one.